everyone, welcome to my channel. For a change, this is not an unboxing or review, but more of like a reminiscence of the old Blackberry 10 operating system. Some of you might not care, but I do. I love tracing down my roots of where I started. So, for those of you who were interested, please do join me in this short, sweet tribute to the unappreciated operating system that is ahead of its competition, but came out a little bit too late to be appreciated. I am a Blackberry fan. I started my smartphone appreciation with Bold 9900 and the rest is history. Other Blackberry phones I used are, of course, the Z10 and the Q10. I used both, but I wasn't able to save my Q10. Next is the Blackberry Passport. I used the silver edition. I really love the silver edition. I love the design and the feel. And the third one is the Priv. This slider is really a one of a kind design that I always love to hold and always love to touch. I love the Schneider Kuznat camera back in the days. I love how it takes photos in a classical way. And the device that I use after this is the Key One. So I was still this one is still very usable because it's Android operating system, and of course the last one is the BlackBerry Q2, Key 2, I should say. So starting January 4, 2022, BlackBerry 10 and older operating system will not be supported or usable. So except for the three, the BlackBerry Priv, the Key 1 and the Key 2, they're all Android devices, but BlackBerry Bold 9900, the Z10 and the Passport all have the BlackBerry 10 and older operating systems. So starting January 4, 2022, older devices from BlackBerry will not be supported by carrier anymore. January 30, 2013 is when BlackBerry 10 was born. I may be biased, but I view their operating system back in the days as solid, innovative, and ahead of its competition because of these features: BlackBerry Hub, gesture-based user interface, multitasking, virtual and physical keyboard. And this somewhat makes me sad. I wish BlackBerry didn't have made it. Competition would have been pro-consumer and consumers won't be stuck in a duopoly. Operating systems that being offered nowadays have unique features today, but those features will be present on the other operating system the year after. So looking back, BlackBerry 10 got all the unique features it needs, but lags behind the app department or the application department. These were the days where numbers of application matter most than their usability. I honestly still remember how things have shaken up when I decided to purchase an HTC One at the end of 2013. And I was quite surprised how I prefer using my BlackBerry Z10 compared to my HTC One. Some of my friends even asking me why do I prefer the BlackBerry where in fact there are fewer applications that I can get there. I don't know. That has probably that has something to do with the consistency of the operating system that other people didn't even appreciate. So looking back, let's revisit one of my favorite features from the BlackBerry 10 operating system. It's called a Blackberry Hub. It is a feature that can be found on the very left of the home screen. It is a unified email, text messaging, and social media notification with a twist. You can reply, post an update. Imagine you can tweet or post a status update without leaving these unified app, or you can do all those things on the same user interface. This is completely integrated to a calendar app too to quickly add important dates. I know that's a common feature nowadays, but BlackBerry 10 has the smoothest implementation back in the days. I miss the BlackBerry 10 notification, the ping, the sound, and the asterisk, or they call it the spark indicator. Next thing that I absolutely love is the gesture based approach. You can swipe to the left to see the Blackberry Hub and swipe to the right to see the menu. You can also swipe up and hold to see the notification, and then swipe it a little bit on the right to get a glimpse of what was the notification that you received. In addition, to go back to the home screen, all you have to do is to swipe all from the bottom of the screen all the way up to go back to the home screen and to minimize and to create an active frame that I'll be discussing later in this video. Well, the funny thing is that back then, I remember how some of my friends who are Apple fans and Android fans are making fun of the gesture approach laid by BlackBerry back then. Ironically, now they love the gesture based approach from iOS and Android. I don't know, but I have to give BlackBerry a credit for the gesture approach. It makes everything more intuitive and fun when browsing the user interface back then. Unfortunately, only few people appreciate them. Next thing that I wanted to revisit is the thing that I actually kind of adore back then. It is BlackBerry 10's operating system handling of multitasking. BlackBerry 10 got the best multitasking management back then because they allow you to create maximum of 8 boxes or 8 active frames. It's not widgets, but it's a kind of a minimized app for multitasking. It runs at the back for as long as you don't press the X button or as long as you don't close the app itself. I remember back in the days, Android can do better multitasking compared to iPhones because iPhones, for example, I was able to use iPhone 5. Multitasking in iOS is not really a multitasking. I have instances that, for example, I type couple of messages and decided to minimize the messaging app, then use, for example, the calculator. If I get back to the messaging app, everything that I had typed is already gone. I remember that's one of the primary reason why iOS didn't work for me back then. While Android, on the other hand, got a better multitasking management, the user interface gets laggy when you open too much applications. And that's one of the reason why I fell in love to BlackBerry 10 because although it limits me to use 8 active frames, those active frames are actively working behind without any compromises on the user interface. BlackBerry 10, despite of how new the operating system back then, it makes me appreciate that it was able to handle multitasking compared to more established operating systems like Apple and Android. Last but not the least, I think the best feature that I would always miss and I would always remember missing is the virtual and the physical keyboard. BlackBerry is known for their physical keyboards. The tactile feel and the nice wipe gesture for suggested words are quite convenient. The days that I don't need to look at the screen while typing is now over. Although I don't Although I can still do those things using an on-screen keyboard, the accuracy was still a bit better when you're using a physical keyboard. The tactile feel is irreplaceable, and that's a thing. I personally love typing on a keyboard, but I don't hate typing on screen as well. It's just that it's always satisfying to get the tactile feedback whenever you press onto something. I also specifically love pressing some of the keys for shortcuts to open certain apps, like for example pressing B to open BBM and so on. I also quite actually love the predictive text that the BlackBerry keyboard is offering. It's quite precise and it's quite fast. It makes your typing really fast because it somewhat accurately predict what will be the next word or what is the word that you were trying to type on. In line with this predictive text, I actually got addicted with how the auto suggestion works in a virtual keyboard. The suggested words appear right above the next letter that you were about to hit, and I find that very impressive. That's why I was a little bit disappointed when BlackBerry released the Priv without this virtual keyboard that they developed. I was wondering why did they do that? And I honestly don't know. I think that was a poor decision made by BlackBerry. Hopefully, if onward mobility would push through in their plans of developing future BlackBerry devices, I hope they would still include and somewhat improve this virtual keyboard for the future. To all the BlackBerry fans out there, this farewell is a bit of a bittersweet farewell. We all know how the operating system works real good until sideloading becomes extremely difficult and native app supports like Facebook, WhatsApp Messenger, and other apps stops developing for BlackBerry 10. As a tech enthusiast, I love every operating system, but BlackBerry 10 will always remain as one that is ahead of its competition but was never noticed because it arrives too late in the party. BlackBerry has a lot of missteps along the way. They failed to recognize the growing numbers of average consumers that wanted to use smartphones. They failed to recognize the business sectors that wanted to have a life after work. And their refusal to adapt in a world of touchscreen that becomes their downfall. BlackBerry 10, in all fairness, is a very good operating system. Unfortunately, it fails to capture the target demographic, and their ads didn't work as well as much as expected, and they were unfairly pitted against other much established operating systems such as Android and Apple's at the point in time where app selection is the most important thing to consumers. So this farewell to BlackBerry is very much of a bittersweet. Bittersweet because I've learned a lot from using BlackBerry 10 operating system. I think it's also one of the reason why I root for the smaller companies or underdogs in tech market dominated by bigger companies. This is really an end of a great era. So thank you guys for joining me in this short travel down in my memory lane. Hope you guys enjoy and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.